Good afternoon, everybody. I hope your Wednesday afternoon is going well. I want to begin by apologizing for not posting this yesterday. It is my plan to do postings like this Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday. But I had a number of things on a personal level going on yesterday and just simply was not able to post the message like I prefer. I want to begin at this point to think about some things with you today. It might be a job loss. It might be some type of accident. It could be the sickness or injury of a child, an untimely death of someone close. Or maybe an expected death of someone close, but still it's a death, it's a loss. Sometimes life can just throw a number of situations at us, and it seems like life just turns upside down. So the question then is, what do we do when life turns things upside down? Well, I want to offer 4 things for your consideration today, and I hope they are things that are helpful and things that are practical. Number 1, when life turns things upside down, what I found that helps me at least is to have a pout rule. Now, what in the world do I mean by that? When life throws things at us that just seem to turn everything upside down, there is a natural reaction and response that we have internally. And it might be that we pout, it might be that we're angry, it might be that we're grieving. Whatever the particular emotion is, don't deny the emotion, don't deny the expression of that emotion. But at the same time, have a pout rule. In other words, I can have A, B, or C emotion because of this situation that was thrust on me, but it's only for a temporary period of time. Now, for some people, the pout rule might be an hour. It might be a week. It might be a month. It might go beyond that. But the reason I encourage you to have a pout rule is so that there's an end to the pout time. In other words, you can't go on and live in the emotional upheaval because it will paralyze you and will keep you from moving forward. So when life turns upside down, what can we do? Number 1, have a pout rule. Number 2, pray EFF. Pray early, pray frequently, pray fervently. Pray EFF. Those are some good basic rules about any time things happen in life, and things do, that just seem to turn the world upside down. So we pray. We know that. That's a given for a Christian, that we're going to pray. But we need to pray early. We need to take the situation in stride very early in that situation. We need to pray frequently. I'm thinking about the persistent widow in Luke chapter 18 who went to the judge over and over and over. And mind you, the judge was not a godly person. And he says, yet because this woman continues to, in essence, pester me by her frequently coming, then I will grant her wish. And the whole point in the passage is that we ought to pray and not lose heart. So pray early, pray frequently, and pray fervently. Don't let it just be a half-hearted prayer. In fact, if it's something that has turned our world upside down, it's probably not going to be a half-hearted prayer. It's going to be something that we will pray very fervently about. So, number 1, have a pout rule. Number 2, pray EFF. Number 3, develop and follow a proactive response. Develop and follow a proactive response. Things are going to happen. We're going to have to respond. So how do we respond when something like this happens to us? Well, I want to mention a couple of things. Stephen Covey was a well-known author, and one of his probably most famous works is the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things he talks about in that book, in fact, if I remember correctly, it was the first thing he talked about, that when you're going to face a situation or take on a challenge, one of the things, in fact, the first thing that effective people do is they begin with the end in mind. In other words, you develop a plan, you develop a course of action looking at what you want your end goal to be. And I'll tell you, when we face challenges and situations, we may not always know the specific steps just exactly when something happens, but if we'll step back and say, okay, this is where I am, it forces us to deal with reality, but this is where I want to be, so how do I get from where I am to where I want to be? Develop and follow a proactive response plan. Now, if I might have just a minute of a little bit of parental pride, some years back, my second daughter, Joanna, we were going through the process of buying her a car, and she had enough down payment for a certain amount, but she was $1,000 shy on the balance. And so I spoke with the salesperson, explained to him, the fact that we had this amount, we had a balance left over. Is there a way that we could work out some financing for the balance? And he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give her 30 days. It was a $1,000 balance. I'll give her 30 days to come up with the $1,000, no finance charge or anything. And we can consider it paid in full at that point. So I'll never forget, we got home that night and Joanna sits down and it's like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to accomplish $1,000 in 30 days? So she starts writing down, I can do this, I can do that, I can do, and she wrote out several things that she could do to accomplish $1,000 in 30 days. About 28 days later, she came home from work one night and she says, look, and she lays out stacks, I believe in $100 increments of the money that she has worked for, saved, accumulated to be able to pay the $1,000 in 30 days. In fact, it was in 28 days. She asked me, do you think they'll take it early? I said, yeah, probably so. And I'll tell you, there was quite a moment of pride in me as a parent right there, because what I saw in her and what I still see in her is the ability to have a challenge, to face that challenge, to be realistic, and develop a plan to move from A to B. And I said to her at that point, Joanna, you've learned an important lesson and an important skill that sometimes 40, 50-year-old people never develop. And that is the ability to face a challenge, know where you need to be, and then work out a step-by-step plan to accomplish your goal. And I'll tell you, it was quite a proud moment for me as a parent, but even more so for her when we walked into that gentleman and handed him the $1,000 a little bit early, and he's able to write paid in full on the contract. Sometimes life turns things upside down. What can we do? Number one, have a pout rule. Allow yourself to feel and express the emotions that happen sometimes. Number two, pray EFF. Pray early, pray frequently, pray fervently. Number three, develop and follow a proactive response. Don't let the situation just paralyze you into inaction. You can't do that. And then finally, number four, ask and answer this question. How can I best glorify God in this situation? I've been handed a situation that, I didn't want. Life turned me upside down. It's difficult. It's a challenge, something that maybe we've never expected before. What can I do? How can I think? How can I speak? How can I act? How can I behave that best glorifies God for my benefit as well as setting an example for other people? Now, it's not always easy to think about that fourth point and what can I do to glorify God the most when we're facing the fire, so to speak. It's not easy at all. But if we will take the step back, take in the deep breath, let the emotional side of it go for a while and just say, okay, here's where I am. Here's where I need to be. What can I do? How can I best glorify God in this situation? Then I think what we'll find is that a number of things begin to pop into the mind, and we begin to think about a number of different scenarios, so that no matter what happens to us, we take it in stride, we live in faith, we live in focus, and we do our best to glorify God. If this has been helpful to you today, I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. Down in the bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see a little button that says Psalm 19. Click that button and subscribe. Become a subscriber to the channel. You get the regular updates and so forth of when new material is posted. If you don't do that, at least if you benefit from something that I've mentioned here briefly today, share it with somebody else. Somebody you know has something going on in their life where their world has been turned upside down, and they could use the encouragement, the help that something like this might bring. That's why we do it. We turn to the Bible, look at the practical application of daily instruction in the Bible, so that when life does turn upside down, we don't turn upside down with it. Thanks for listening today. I hope it's been helpful. Hope to see you soon. And take care, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.